Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Karina Denny, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for the district, and welcome to our very first annual Community Spirit Award Showcase. This event is a special one because it gives us the opportunity to show our appreciation to individuals and organizations that go above and beyond to give back to our students, our staff, our parents, and our community. Before we get started, I'd love to recognize our Winton Woods Board of Education members. We have Dr. Viola Johnson, President. Member, Mr. Jeff Birdie. Member, Dr. John Cupoletti. And we actually have a former board member, that would be Mr. John Pennycuff, that served over 26 years. Now, I would love to invite all the community award recipients to stand, whether you're a community member or whether you're representing one of the organizations that we've honored in the past. If you could stand. While we have you at one place, we'd love to take a group picture at this time. You'll see there's blue chairs and Miss Jackson back there. She's our district publicity writer and photographer. So if you guys could make your way to the back, we're going to take a quick group shot, and then we're going to start dismissing tables for dinner.
I'll have everyone look right here.
Please enjoy the performance of our Winton Woods High School Jazz Band, directed by Jordan Hable. back out. Mr. Mark Doctor.
Hello, I'm Mark Doctor.
Good evening. I need a little of this. Well, my name is Mark Doctor. I'm the food service director here at Winton Woods. And before I get started about telling a little bit about the programming that we've implemented here in the last few years, there's a burning question that I have. And I typically don't stand in front of a microphone after I finish carving chicken. But since I have a captive audience and I do have the microphone, how's the food? All right, excellent. Thank you. Mr. Smith cooked it. So just to give you a little insight real quick, we are serving dessert tonight, and it is a strawberry shortcake. It's kind of deconstructed a little bit. You'll understand why. And we make it with our own homemade, or house-made, technical, whipped cream. So I would like to say it's sugar-free, but then I'd be lying. But please enjoy it. So first of all, I'd like to say it's an honor to stand here before you, the fellow recipient as a community award winner. Appreciate that. But today I'd like to tell you about 5 major initiatives that we have launched over the past 3 years here at Winton Woods. 2 were external, and then 3 were internal here in the schools. So the first was, if you can see up on the screen, the summer bus. You may have seen this rolling around in the summertime. So in January of 2018, we decided to take an old retired school bus, retrofit it. We took a couple of doors and a lift gate from another bus, cut a couple square holes in it, and voila, we're feeding children in the summer on a mobile basis. Please speak it. Sorry. Yeah, I don't do this well. You know, I'm more of a knife guy. So here we go. So we're okay. So the mobile. So we made the mobile bus. We serve 4 locations: Springfield Township, Green Hills, and 2 in Forest Park. We serve 6 days a week during the summer. So we actually work on Saturdays feeding the children. Most schools. Thank you. You don't see the work. They're usually golfing. So I say that for Sundays. But now we're headed into our 3rd year. And I wanted to share with you the impact that it has had on the community. Prior to the years of having this mobile summer bus feeding, we only served approximately 8,000 to 9,000 meals at our intermediate location. At the end of our 2nd year, which was last year, we served over 21,000 meals for our summer food program. Thank you. The bus is designed with multiple uses. It is equipped with a mobile hotspot for the kids when they come in the summer. Hopefully they're still doing their homework. It also has a mini library. One of the possible expansions that we're trying to do this summer is that we're going to offer fresh fruit smoothies to the children a couple of days a week, if not more. So another way we use the bus is another community outreach, and it's what we call the Warrior Pantry outreach. And so in October of 2019, we wanted to reach out to the families a little bit more. So in conjunction with the Free Store Food Bank and We Thrive volunteers, we launched the mobile food pantry. So I need you to repeat after me, so you might have to, stop chewing. So, on the first Thursday, and the third Thursday of every month, let's do it one more time. On the first Thursday, and the third Thursday of every month, you got it? Those are the evenings that you're more than welcome to volunteer on the mobile pantry. You like that? We do have a sign-up sheet in the back. Now, the impact of this project in a very short time, since October, it has grown. Since we do it on 2 times a month, We serve anywhere from 80 to 100 families in that month, or in a given month. And it does get a little cold, but it's okay. We have heat. You need to come check the bus out at some point because it's pretty cool. It has its own generator. So our expansion plan for this project is when it does warm up a little bit, we're going to offer pop-up produce stands and where families can come and get free fresh produce. Can everybody hear me still? Okay. I know you're eating. That's a good sign. You're quiet. It's always a good sign. I like that. So the third initiative, this one's when they start into the classrooms. We do breakfast in the classroom. So 3 years ago, we wanted to start a mission to where we increase the time the children can sit down more before they start their academic meal. So we started serving breakfast in the classrooms in different stages. And we plan, and we also planned to provide them universal free breakfast. So we did this in a couple of stages. We did a couple of schools every year. And I'm happy to say that the high school was the last installment this year. So right now, K through 12 are all eating free universal breakfast. You guys are a great crowd, by the way. So I want to tell you a little bit of the impact on this project. Our participation went through the roof. Not only because we were offering free food, that wasn't it. At the high school level, they are very, very sophisticated when it comes to their palate. They're picky. So we had to stay on top of our game. So some of the foods that we offered for them, and you're more than welcome to come every morning and join, but bring a checkbook. So the breakfast here, some of the breakfasts are omelets. We have breakfast paninis. We have fresh-made burritos. We serve fresh fruit and juice. It's offered every day. Some of the beverages we have, and we call ourselves Warbucks because of this. We have various flavors of coffee, lattes. We do fresh fruit smoothies every morning. And this year alone, we started making hot chocolate from scratch. No package. It was pretty good. The board loved it. Another example of our, and just to give you an idea of what we're doing with the high school, we serve about 500 breakfasts to the high school every morning. And that's up nearly 100% from last year. So that's increased. Another example of our participation, and Ms. Wallace down at Primary South promised that I promised I'd tell everyone this, that they're currently at 92% participation every morning. So 9 out of the 10 kids are eating breakfast down there every morning. So we're pretty good, proud about that. But this next part a little chokes me up a little bit because I want to brag on the collaborators of this project. Because the food service department had an overwhelming support and buy-in for this project. From the board, Mr. Smith, the superintendent, Mr. Denny, the entire administration team, the teachers, the support staff, all down the line, they were just all on board with this. And it was a big endeavor. We were so successful that the state of Ohio actually acknowledged us. And to give you some perspective, they give an award. It's called a Breakfast Champion Award. And over the 3,000 schools that are in the state of Ohio, only 10 schools get this award. I like to carry it around like the Stanley Cup. And this is the first bowl that we got. See? So. Now, to give you a little bit more perspective, out of those 10 schools, only 2 have won it back-to-back. That was Winton Woods. So we won it 2 years. And I have to say this, that we hope that they acknowledge with the work we've been doing, and in honor of the late, great Kobe Bryant, we're going for a three-peat. So I do have to say that I'm humbled every day I walk through this district from the support that we get from not only the staff, the kids are loving it. I mean, it's just been a fantastic place to work for 3 years. So having said that, I'm going to move on now. But the support did not stop here at the walls. We actually reached out. We reached out to the American Dairy Association, The Cincinnati Bengals were involved this year with us because we won a hometown grant from Fuel Up to Play 60 of $10,000. And we took that money and we worked it. Half of it was part of nutrition, and the other half had to go to a physical component. So myself, Chief Jermaine Hill of Forest Park, Jay Dennis of Forest Park, and also our own Jerome Whitaker, who is basically an American ninja. We made an American Ninja / firefighter obstacle course. And this course can be modified for indoor, outdoor, and all ages. So it's so versatile. And so we have a couple of pictures up here. And Jermaine Hill says that he did this in 38 seconds, but don't believe him. I was there. So, two more. That's a good picture. This next one is, it's called the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program. It's a little bit lengthy in name, so we like to name our projects. This is called the Sweet Morsel Project. And what we do here is we offer our 4 elementary schools fresh fruit and vegetable 4 days a week. We are currently serving 8,000 fresh snacks in the afternoon to our elementary school. And as you can see here, we serve them anywhere from avocados. This is a chance for you to win an extra strawberry shortcake, by the way. Kiwi. We give them mango, star fruit they've tried. They love the mango, by the way. Now, if anybody can guess what this is, we'll give you an extra strawberry shortcake. You're not allowed, no, and no. Really? Nobody? Wow. We'll give it to you, but you called it wrong. It's jicama. A lot of people call it a yakima. All right. We actually served that to the kids as French fries and put a little tahini on it, and they ate it up. So. All right, next project. This is the final project that I want to talk about. That's actually, that last picture there is actually every Wednesday is what we get in to send out to the kids. It's quite the event. This is another fresh fruit, one more, the kick. This is what we call Kids in the Kitchen, and this one's a little near and dear to my heart. They all are, but this one especially. This is reaches out to students with special needs, and what we do is we open our kitchens to the seniors, and we bring them in and we help them define their fine motor skills and decision making, and we're hoping to expand this to the 9th through the 11th grade. And we're also hopeful in the new schools. I can definitely see them more into the recipe making, some base technique cooking, and even basic knife skills, which every child should learn how to use a knife in a chef way. So, but that's all I have. I appreciate it. I thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope you have enjoyed how was the shortcake, by the way? Good, very good? Actually, you can have more, I think. I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Denny. He's going to tell you a little bit about the new schools that are coming.
Oh, great, thank you. Hey, thanks, Mr. Doctor. Good evening, everybody. He's a pleasure to work with. He's been a wonderful addition to our team and our district, and I'm thrilled to be able to work with him. So thank you. It's my distinct privilege and honor to tell you a little bit about one of the biggest things that's happened in our district in a long time. So I'm pleased to share with you that we are, as you're probably aware, about to deliver $107 million in new construction in the form of a new K-6 school in Green Hills in front of where the middle school is currently located, which is also formerly known as Green Hills High School. And then also the 712 building, which is right out in front. You probably couldn't miss it as you pulled in this evening. So we're very proud of that, and we're excited. And I get to tell you about two particular endeavors in these two new buildings, features that are pretty unique. As you probably know, in Winton Woods, we're re-envisioning the way we deliver teaching and learning. And so as a part of that, you have to re-envision the way the buildings and the facilities that support that kind of learning function and are designed. So we're starting off with makerspaces. Have you heard of this? You've probably heard the term makerspace. It's fairly common now. But we've re-envisioned it sort of for what we're going to call warrior makerspaces, but it has a lot to do with what employers are telling us as K-12 educators they want to see in future employees. They want to see people that have soft skills, right? Not just the content knowledge, but also the soft skills. And so we often refer to that as the 4 C's, which are pictured up there: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. And so our maker spaces, which are in all of our buildings, we'll talk about them briefly here, feature technology, including things like 3D printers. Every student in our district in grades 3 through 12 has a one-to-one device, so they have a Chromebook. That really empowers them to be able to access content, and the world is really at their fingertips. So the vision with the makerspace is that they can envision anything and then build it. So it is literally a makerspace. So we call these project labs. Next slide. So it's a space to experiment, do creative and messy, sometimes messy work. Our buildings are made up of something called a small learning community. These are big buildings. The building out in front here is 245,000 square feet. It's meant to serve about 1,800 students. The one in Green Hills, the K6, is meant to serve almost 2,000 students, and it's 205,000 square feet. To make these big buildings feel smaller and more intimate, and so the children and teachers can connect with it and with each other, we've organized them into what we call small learning communities. There are 12 in each facility. They're meant to serve about 125 to 150 students each. And in every small learning community, there's a project lab or a makerspace. And so that's a suite of spaces that makes up the small learning community. And all of those spaces belong to all of the teachers in that area. So we kind of grew up with every teacher has their own room. The modern workforce doesn't really envision things to work that way. So again, in re-envisioning teaching and learning, we re-envisioned the way we use the spaces. Now all the teachers share all of those spaces and use them when the content and their instruction requires a particular modality. Sometimes they would require a project lab. So the Warrior Maker spaces are large. They're over 1,000 square feet each. And again, each building has 12 of them. Actually, this 712 has 13, and I'll touch on that in a second. They're double door to load large things in and out. Flexible furniture that can be moved around and is durable. Multiple sinks, cord reels for a lot of power, lots of storage. And again, the idea here is that you can model anything using the technology and then use actual analog tools to build it, or 3D printers to model it and build it. Next slide, please. The Scene Shop is also a makerspace. You're probably aware Winton Woods is a fine arts district. Like, we take a lot of pride in fine arts. You heard the wonderful jazz band this evening. We have a lot of great programming in fine arts. And so the Scene Shop is intended to support the theater program in fine arts, but not just that. It's actually a large-scale makerspace. And I'll give you a quick example. Some of you might have heard that we do project-based learning, and one of the projects that happens every year at this school, the high school, is a catapult project where the kids literally design and build functional catapults from wood and steel. And I see some of the parents in the audience shaking their heads. You know what I'm talking about. And this is a space they could come do that where they would actually have enough room and the right tools and everything to be able to do so safely. Not that it's not safe now, but this is a better environment for that to take place. It can support any type of construction, so we would envision having tools in there, literal like power tools, and train the kids how to safely operate them, have a lot of supervision. And again, the idea that you've got technology to model anything, and then the tools to actually build it. And that's exciting. So we're pretty eager to see that come online. So the Scene Shop, this is a footprint of the first floor of the 712 building, the one that you passed when you came in. It's a large building, but the Scene Shop can be seen in that circle right there, just to show you where it is. And again, there's maker spaces all over this building. There's 12 of them across that building. Next slide, please. And that's maker spaces. Now we're going to transition. We talked a little bit about dining. We're trying to re-envision the way we use space and the way we feed students as well. And we call that concept distributed dining. So this is the second thing I wanted to be able to share with you tonight about the new buildings that's different. And I guess the first question is, so what is it? What is distributed dining? Well, distributed dining is truly a different way of serving children. Instead of a large space like we're in right now, a central cafeteria, this is about 8,000 square feet, and about 80% of the day, this sits unused. You understand what I mean? Because lunch happens about 20% of the day. The rest of the time, there's no one in here. That's a pretty inefficient use of space. So one of the things we decided to do with the new buildings, from a cost standpoint, an efficiency standpoint, and an instructional time-saving standpoint, we'll touch on that in a moment, is distribute the dining and put it closer to the learning areas. And our students told us they actually wanted this. We did focus groups with students. So it's multiple spread out areas to eat. It's not eating in the classroom necessarily, but it's eating in areas that are adjacent to the classroom, that when they're not being used for eating, at lunchtime and breakfast, they can be used for learning. Project breakout space, intervention, small group instruction for students, kids practicing projects, that kind of thing. So these are closer to the learning areas. It's not far away like the cafeteria. Some of you know this building really well, and you know that you can spend at least 5 minutes moving from one end of the building to here and then back. That's 10 minutes every day. Multiply that by 180 days. It's hours of instructional time you could gain back if it's closer to where you're learning. Does that make sense? All right, so that's the thinking. Next slide, please. And we really wanted these service points and dining areas to feel more collegiate, and here's the word the kids use. They said, we want it to feel more like a Starbucks and less like, they use the term barracks, but I would say dining hall maybe. So these are the service points around the building. Every circle you see is a service point. So this is the K-6 school, the one in Green Hills. There are 6 service points. Small kitchenettes, and there's a large central kitchen where the food is prepped and then using warming carts it's transported out by Mr. Doctor and his wonderful staff. And these are where they dine. You can see the light blue areas. Hopefully you can see that. The light blue areas with the ovals around them is where they dine. And what you're looking at is it's close to those SLCs we talked about, those small learning communities. That's the area where they learn. So it's adjacent to it. They don't have to move way across the building to reach their destination to enjoy their meal. All right, I thought it might be helpful for you to see just a snapshot of what might this look like. We talked a little bit about what it is. We talked about where they are. What does it look like? Well, it looks a little bit like that. That's from our 3D rendering that our architects made for us, and I just took a snapshot. That's on the learning stair, which we'll talk about in a minute. What's a learning stair? I'll introduce that. But that's part of the distributed dining area. So you've been to Serpentine Wall maybe, downtown on the river? It's a little bit like that. Learning stair is kind of a high-step stair. It's got a pedestrian tread on either side and a high step where students can sit if they'd like to and eat their lunch there or study. There's plenty of power stations there for them to plug up, charge their devices, and so forth. That's a look down into the distributed dining area at the K-6. Moving to the 712, these are the service points for the 712, so these are where food can be served to students. You'll notice every white circle you can see there, or yellowish circle. There's a large central kitchen, again, but food is distributed out to those points where students can find the food much closer to their learning area. And these are the dining areas. You can see the rectangles or squares. It's colored light blue, and again, it's near the pink, which is the small learning community where the children are actually learning. Again, saving valuable time. What does it look like at the 712? The 712 distributed dining on the high school side, the 912 side, is a 2-tier model. Can serve about 355 students at a time, but it's very spread out. You can see there's some soft seating and booths, there's some hard seating, there's some high top seating, there's some low seating. And so it gives students choice. And it feels more like a restaurant or a collegiate dining hall area instead of a more traditional cafeteria. And the students told us that was really important to them. Briefly touched on a learning stair. What is it? You can see a little rendering of it there on the right and a mock-up of children being able to sit on it. And that's an anchor point. Students can eat their lunch there. They can study there. It can be used for presentations. It can be used for a variety of different purposes. That is the heart of each small learning community, is the learning stair. And then on the left, you can see that's what it looks like now. I was actually there today, and it's the steel is there. So it's in process. It's coming. All right, so here's the question. Why are we doing this? We talked a little bit about it, but just be specific. There's some really good reasons. It brings a lot of advantages to our children and to our staff. One is that it saves instructional time. We talked about that. Second is that you can have smaller group sizes. If you've ever been to lunch here, you know that it's about 400 children at a time. This will be about 100 kids at a time, K through 8. That's a much smaller group. Those children know each other. Those teachers know those children. It makes it much more intimate. Our theory, and I think we can test this pretty readily, is that it actually has the potential to reduce bullying incidents because the kids know each other. You get a large central cafeteria where kids are unfamiliar with one another versus a small, intimate, 100 student at a time lunch that's much closer and right in their learning area. You got a little potential to make things culturally, communally more positive. So it's more intimate, it's more communal, it's more comfortable. It gives us a lot more utility. Again, when we're not using that space to eat, it gets cleaned and wiped down, it's ready to be used for other instructional purposes. And lastly, it's more cost effective. In that building, the K-6 that's shown in that picture, the cafeteria was 12,000 square feet. So we carved that up and distributed it around the building. So now that space doubles as learning space, 80% of the time, more room for our students to learn and grow. So that's our thinking. That's the theories behind distributed dining. We're one of the few districts in the country that's doing this, but we do think it's going to become more common as the benefits become more apparent. That's my bit. Thanks for listening. And now it's my distinct honor to introduce our treasurer, Mr. Randy Seymour, who will provide you with a financial update.
I sure am glad I can see the screen better up here. I'm basically the treasurer for the district, and one of my main functions is to assist the board and the superintendent in developing their budget. And as you know, from time to time, we have to come to the community and say, we need additional revenues. We need additional revenues. So basically, on March 17th, there will be a 6.95 mil operating levy on the ballot. And I'll try to share with you why the levy, how much it will generate, and what it was going to cost our residents. This, sure. And this will be the first time in 12 years that we have asked the community to increase our revenues for our general operations. Our general operations is our educational program. As you know, we have the buildings going on. And the last time we had a new levy was in 2017, but that was for our buildings. Our funds generated off of that issue can only be used for the buildings. But now we need to ask for funds for operations and for our instructional programs. So to give you a little background, back in 2009, when the last increase was given, the district generated $539,000 per mil. We obviously went through a recession. We bottomed out in 2016, and we've kind of stabilized right now, and our property values for the district have stabilized at around $465 million. For the current owner, the 6.95 mil levy on a market value of a home of $100,000 will be $243 or $20 a month. If you have a house worth $200,000, that would be $486 or $40 a month. If you want to figure it exactly for your home, take your market value times 0.35, which is called the auditor's assessed value, and then it's $6.95 per 1,000. Not everybody's home is 100, 150, or 200. However, the auditor of Hamilton County requests that when we publicize this, put it on the ballot, we speak in terms of a $100,000 home and what it will cost. In preparing for this levy, the board did pass a resolution. They've been working on this with the superintendent for about 3 years now. They passed a resolution to plan for a 5-year financial plan. In that 5-year financial plan, they asked the superintendent and the administration to not increase expenditures during this period more than 2% without coming to them and explaining why. That would also include to try to hold down our personnel costs by at least 2%. And in there, they had the plan to increase the revenues, which hadn't been increased in over 12 years, by the 6.95 mil levy. Our teachers have also assisted us in this plan. We negotiated. Last year, the teachers did not get a raise at all. This year, they got 2%, and that basically averages out to about 1% a year over the last 2 years. They also agreed, along with all the other staff of the district, to increase their health care costs to the employee, which saved the district about $200,000 a year in helping us fulfill this financial plan. We also have to work with a state foundation program. And as you know, since I came to Winton Woods, we've had 3 governors, 3 different plans of how to support education, and not one of them have ever we received the full funding that was derived from the program to fund from the state. Most recently, under CASIC, we have what was called the Targeted Assistance, Evidence-Based, and they came up with a funding formula 3 years ago. Well, they couldn't fund it. So they said, you'll get what you got last year, and then we'll increase you by up to a cap of 3% per year until you reach what you would have gotten funded under this great plan we came up with. Well, for 2 years, we got a 3% increase. Then we got a new governor, and most recently, we have what's called the zero-based state foundation. We get what we got last year, this year, and we will get what we got last year for next year. No increase in state funding. So basically, with the loss of what's called the cap increase in state funding, the board basically lost about $2.1 million a year in state funding. So the new levy is going to generate approximately $3.2 million a year to help support the educational program, teachers' salaries, office support salaries, and all of our electrical bills, everything that for you and your home is going up, ours is going up also. And just to share with you, in the plan, the board has asked for the amount in order to sustain the district for their 5-year plan out to the year 2024. And with that, I'm going to introduce our innovative leader, Superintendent Smith.
So you heard Mr. Doctor first talk about how we give back to our community. It's very important. When we were first thinking about the Nutrition is the Mission bus, one of the things we figured out, every school district in our area has a free lunch program in the summer. But we had to become very, very innovative and realize that some kids couldn't get to the food. So we took the food to them. That's why there was an increase from 9,000 students served in the summer to 21,000. That was the difference. And I would have to say that I'm very, very proud of my executive team because every one of them have made a decision to volunteer to be on that Nutrition is the Mission bus in the summer. And it's a very, very exciting opportunity. So if you are inclined to want to ride a high-tech bus, feel free. We will send out information so you can join us, and the kids would be more than happy to see you. So you see these two kids here. They're on a track. However, there's something different in the next slide that will show you that there's a difference in growth versus achievement. Kid on the right has obstacles. The obstacles are hurdles. So what's the chance that they'll finish the race at the same time? Now, if it were me racing Mr. Denny, it wouldn't matter which side I was on because I would win, all right, because I'm a little bit faster, okay? But for the most part, you see the obstacles there, and that's what our children face every day. There are obstacles in front of them, but the state expects them to get to the end at the same time, and we know that that's virtually impossible. So that's the difference between growth versus achievement. So our goals, to consistently increase academic achievement, close achievement gaps, and prepare all graduating students to be future ready, and whatever the future holds. So schools have been pushing the envelope very, very hard about everyone must go to college. Well, college is not for everyone. I believe that my plumber makes more than my lawyer because that leak is very, very important. And he tells you you need this tool and you need that tool. Anybody ever assisted your plumber where you're standing there handing him the tools as quickly as you can because you're trying to get that job done? So some of our kids want to go into the trades. Some of our kids want to go into the military. We have to make sure that our work is versatile enough that whatever craft or whatever decision they make, they can go into it and understand that we have prepared them to be future ready. So there's some buzzing around the community is, what is the PreSchool Village? Well, this is the PreSchool Village. We have over 80 students right now on the waiting list trying to get into preschool. That's not appropriate. That means 80 students that are not prepared at the right time. So imagine someone telling you your 4-year-old is behind his peers and he will always be, forever. That's very disheartening for any parent to hear. So we've decided that when we give kids the opportunity to be part of a preschool experience, that means we're jump-starting their educational opportunities and they will actually catch up with their peers. There is really no other way. The problem with the formula is the state does not really fund preschool. funds handicap preschool. So we've understood that students with disabilities, being in classrooms with students with regular academic strengths, they must pair together because we know that students learn a lot faster and a lot better from other students. So our goal is to have a 300 to 400 seat preschool village where it is absolutely state-of-the-art. When the state gave us the opportunity to build these buildings, we realized that there was something wrong with the formula. And the formula issue was there was not all-day kindergarten and all-day preschool. So our numbers are off what the state says we should have as far as square feet for buildings. Mr. Denny mentioned 245,000 square feet, and the other building is 205,000 square feet. Not enough space to put preschool and kindergarten in those spaces. So we came up with an ingenious idea where we're going to renovate the intermediate building and it will be the preschool village. That was our plan, and we know that it is going to be an absolute deal breaker. So the parents are excited, the community is excited, because we would have to limit our enrollment if we tried to shove all of those students into those two particular schools. And keep in mind, the renovated space of the intermediate building is going to be just as attractive and just as efficient as the other two buildings that we're building from scratch. So, brains are built by 90%. 90% of that developmental time comes from kids having the opportunity to be in school earlier with their peers. And keep in mind, we are one of the few preschools in this region that's 5-star. 5-star is the highest rating that you can obtain. So Liz Stiles and her team, they are absolutely doing some wonderful work with students. And so that's why we're calling it the Preschool Village, because it takes the village surrounding the child to be very, very successful. There are no other options in order to get students into school earlier other than having the preschool experience. That's one thing that I really want you guys to take back to the community. The preschool is absolutely essential to our work. The other piece, vocabulary by age 3. Students are developing vocabulary as fast and as rapidly as they possibly can, but they're using some of those tools and they're developing vocabulary from other people and from other students. Now, sometimes they take home words that are not quite right, but that's okay. We balance those out and then we kind of give them a pattern like that wouldn't really work in this particular setting. The other part, what's interesting about our work is safety is very, very important to us as well. So our levy is going to be based on 4 different principles. It's going to be based on, number 1, that preschool village. Number 2, the safety of all the students in our district. Number 3, increased enrollment. And number 4, returning busing for high school students. I'm seeing students walk many, many miles in order to get to school. And in some cases, if they're in the Academy of Global Studies, school starts at 7 o'clock a.m. That's rough. That's very, very difficult for parents to manage. Having the busing would actually give us the flexibility to have alternate classes and some other opportunities for students so that they can make it to school on time and do their best. Unfortunately, every first bell is not necessarily an advisory. Some first bells are math, science. So missing those opportunities are critical to our work. The other part that's very interesting, we are very, very excited about launching the Community Learning Center. The Community Learning Center is about vision, health, hearing, dental, and having those things right on site would be absolutely essential to our work. Imagine students being able to come to have an eye screening during the school time, pick their glasses up before the end of the school day. That would make us very, very efficient. This number right here, this chart right here, this bar graph, these are incidents, student safety incidents that have happened over the years through all around the country. And that one graph, 2018, I believe, 110 incidents of safety issues that happened in schools. One of the things that we realize is that safety is really our top piece. Before we can educate students, we have to make sure that they are safe. And the buildings that we're building have a virtual amount of glass to them in order to create the harvesting of daylight. They're more energy efficient. And so we worry about the energy efficient piece, but we also worry about the safety aspect. One of the pieces that we realized during this whole endeavor as far as the buildings are concerned, we only have one school resource officer combined with both of these buildings. Where all of our buildings, there's one resource officer. So we usually model ourselves from our competition. Whoever's doing the best, that's who we chase. Who's ever doing the greatest, that's who we look at. And we looked at our colleagues down the road, Lakota. Lakota has 15 school resource officers because they understand safety is paramount more than anything else. What happens in schools usually when there's a tragedy or there's a situation, then people decide, let's put in more officers. Let's give the boost to the school. We do better at prevention more than we do at intervention. So we definitely need more officers in the buildings, and not necessarily for the safety of the students that are creating the storm. It's for people that are outside. How many of you have heard the story of the white vans that are circling different communities and, picking kids up, and then parents are never seeing those children again? Well, I can't afford for any of my children to be lost. So having school resource officers, say something, let people know what's going on in the community. The relationship that our students in the high school have with Vader Harris is absolutely phenomenal. He talks to them all the time about safety aspects, and he's not there to be the heavy with a revolver or a pistol talking about what may happen to the student. He's talking about, hey, let's stay safe and keep ourselves together and make sure we have the right composure at all times. That's why Lakota East and West, made a decision, 15 school resource officers. They're saying we are serious about our children's safety, all right? How many of you have ever read an issue about a tragedy about a kid being hurt in a school situation? We all have. We can't afford for that to be us. So one of the things that we'd like to encourage as it relates to the levy that Mr. Seymour so eloquently mentioned, in order to do that, in order to fund that, we need additional funds in order to put those resource officers in the proper place. Not just when we think there's a tragedy or an issue, but all times. All the time that the school building is open, we need resource officers there to make sure that it works very, very efficiently. If you see Ohio, student safety, 55 incidents of student safety. And believe it or not, folks, some of those were tragic situations where parents send their kids to school, but that child will never return. The child will never come home again. So now they become a memory. It becomes an issue. There are memorials all through different schools and different situations. We're working diligently to make sure that we don't put ourselves and put our children in that particular predicament. Okay, I mentioned the last piece where our student enrollment has increased. So our numbers started out in 9-10 at 3,481 students. We're now at 4,049 students. I've had the pleasure of, when I worked in another district, of opening 3 schools brand new. The enrollment hit the roof. So we're at 4,049 right now, and we're predicting that we'll have about 5,000 students. 5,000 students, that means we need more staff. So if you could imagine, if we had the ratio, we'd like to have a ratio of 1 to 22, 1 to 24, 1 to 25 max. Once we start getting into ratios of 1 to 30, you have a serious increase of teacher burnout. That means that great teacher that your child thinks they're going to have because their older sibling had him, you won't, because the teacher's saying, this is really too much. And we can't turn kids away saying that we don't have enough staff. So we have to build the pyramid together to make sure that the staff and the students ratio is correct. Preparing to be future ready, Winton Woods City Schools. Thank you. Okay, so let me find the person in the room. Oh, Mr. Birdie will answer any questions. Do you have any questions, comments, suggestions at this point? We wanted to make sure that we got you out on time, but if there are questions, we'll definitely entertain those questions. Yes, ma'am.
Are you suggesting that Winton would hire 15 SROs like Winton?
No, I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Some schools are talking about, some school districts across the country are talking about arming staff with weapons. I think that if you know any police officers in the area, even if they have to draw their weapon, they have to have a psychological assessment after they do that, even if they haven't even fired the weapon. I can't imagine the algebra teacher using the weapon and then the next day going back in teaching the class. That's just not going to happen. There are too many psychological issues occurring. What we're aspiring to do is something very smaller than the 15. If we could actually manage to have 2 SROs per building, that would absolutely put us way above board. And that would be a very, very welcoming addition to all the families and the people that use Winton Woods City Schools to educate their kids. Thank you. That was a good question. All right. Any others? Well, this will be an annual event, and we're going to invite you every year. You have given back to the community and many, many times when you didn't have to. Many of you are retired. You could have laid on your sofa and just watched TV and enjoyed yourselves. We made a conscious decision, the team of Dr. and Seymour and Denny, we made a decision to have it Thursday night. I was voting on having it Sunday at 6:30, and people were like, we're not coming. And I didn't understand that because we're all Bengals fans, and if the Bengals aren't in it, who cares, right? Okay. So the reality is we need the community to understand that when information is floating out there that's not accurate, it's our responsibility to bring the community together to say, here are the facts, not other points that really don't fit our needs. The facts are the facts. One of the things that the board challenged me with, they said, Superintendent, let's figure out how to engage the community more to give them facts about the work that we're doing for all the students in our district. And so that challenge is not a challenge that I shy away from. It's a challenge that I welcome because when you have the facts, you make a better decision. Correct? Okay. So the first picture, the picture of me that came up, I know you were wondering, like, why is Denzel here? Well, no, it's me. It's all right. But thank you guys for coming. Thank you very, very much for your support. But before you leave, do you understand the purpose of the PreSchool Village? Do you understand the impact of what it can do? Do you understand increased enrollment? That means I need more people. Yes. Do you understand the safety aspect of what's happening? And finally, what was number 4? Come on. Yes, busing. Busing for high school students. What's going to be very, very odd, you see these 2 handsome gentlemen right here? They're brothers, right? Stand up. These guys are like about 6'9" each. Stand up. So imagine this yellow bus driving and picking up, I won't say who's the younger because you guys both look like you're like 21, so that's cool. But imagine the yellow bus picking up one who's in 7th grade. Remember now, our buildings are combined 7 through 12. The bus would actually have to go past his brother who is going to the same location. That's odd to us. That would create all kinds of storms in our community. So thank you guys. I planted them here, great models. Give them a round of applause. Thank you guys. So we have to make sense out of our work because I can tell you the volume of calls that would come to the superintendent's office that would say, I don't understand you. You picked up my son but left my other son on the block. That doesn't make sense when the bus is going to the same place. We need to make some conscious decisions about how we service kids and how we treat young people. And the unfortunate part of it, and this is not something that we created, and when you look at some of the communities in Forest Park, some of them don't have sidewalks. That means we have to make decisions when we're up at 4 o'clock in the morning to start determining if it's going to be a snow day or not. The decision is made because we have plows in the street and kids in the street at the same time. That can't work. I can't afford to lose any child to anything, period. So again, thank you very, very much for your attention, and I appreciate your time.